Once upon a time in the late 1800s, Europe had a midlife crisis. The continent was bloated with ambition, factories, nationalism, and a weird obsession with world maps. So naturally, the solution was to carve up an entire continent like it was a Sunday roast. That continent, Africa. This is the ridiculous, ruthless tale of the scramble for Africa. The moment history went from exploration to full-blown colonial land grab Olympics. Europe, bored, broke, and looking for a side hustle. By the 1870s, European powers had conquered everything from South Asia to the Americas. But Africa? Still mostly uncolonized, the Sahara acted like a natural fortress. Jungle diseases scared off invaders, and African kingdoms, empires, and communities were not just waiting to be colonized. But then came a trio of bad ideas. Industrialization. Europe needed raw materials. Nationalism. Each country wanted bragging rights. And racism. They convinced themselves Africans needed civilizing. Enter the age of guns, steamships, and white savior energy. Leopold II, the greedy king who kicked it off. It all really kicked off when King Leopold II of Belgium decided he wanted a colony of his own. So he pulled the biggest heist in colonial history by acquiring the Congo basin under the fake cover of humanitarian work. Suddenly, other European countries were like, wait, this guy just grabbed half of Africa without even being a major power? Now they wanted a slice of the pie. Cue the Scramble, the Berlin Conference, world's worst group project. In 1884, Germany's Chancellor Otto von Bismarck hosted the Berlin Conference, inviting 14 European countries and the US. What was on the agenda? Peace treaties? African representation? Nope. They literally just drew lines on a map, with no African leaders present. This was the moment where Europe went. Let's divide Africa like roommates splitting rent, without telling the landlord. They created rules for claiming land. Effective occupation. Translation: plant a flag and shoot anyone who disagrees. Notify other Europeans before you snatch land. A polite courtesy, not for Africans, though. The aftermath: chaos, carving, and colonies. What followed was decades of invasion, deception, and brutal control. By 1914, 90% of Africa was under European domination. And not subtly either. Look at what they did. France took West Africa like it was on clearance. Britain snatched Egypt, Sudan, South Africa, and more. Germany, yes, Germany, took Namibia and Tanzania. Portugal dusted off its old empire and grabbed Angola and Mozambique. Italy got the leftovers, tried, and failed, with Ethiopia. Belgium, well, they just enslaved the Congo and called it civilization. Borders were drawn with no regard for tribes, languages, or geography, just vibes and compasses. Africa pays the bill. These borders crushed kingdoms, divided ethnic groups, and threw together people with zero shared history, or worse, deep rivalries. The colonial regimes looted resources, exploited labor, imposed European laws, names, and religions, built railroads only to extract, not connect. It was domination dressed up as development. African resistance was fierce but uneven. Empires like the Ashanti, Zulu, and Ethiopians fought back hard, and in some cases, won briefly. But by the time WWI rolled around, Africa had been turned into a giant trophy case for European powers. The legacy: borders built to break. Today, many of Africa's political and ethnic conflicts can be traced back to those colonial borders drawn in Berlin by clueless diplomats. The Scramble didn't just steal land, it manufactured division, drained economies, and left behind political systems built to serve outsiders, not citizens. Even after independence in the mid-20th century, Africa was forced to play catch-up on its own terms, with someone else's rules. History roasted. So next time someone asks how Africa became a checkerboard of bizarre borders and stolen wealth, just tell them a bunch of Europeans got together in Berlin, brought a map of Africa, and forgot to bring Africa.